I'm Sarah Duke, and I'm the Curator of Popular and Applied Graphic Art in the Prints and Photographs Division of the Library of Congress. The Prints and Photographs Division has hosted the Swan Fellowship Program for over 25 years, and I see that my predecessor, Martha Kennedy, is in the audience today. It's my pleasure to introduce Felicity Yin as our speaker today, but first a few words about the Swan Foundation Fellowship. It is one of the few programs in the United States dedicated to funding graduate and postgraduate research in caricature and cartoon. The Swan Fellowship encourages research in a variety of academic disciplines as long as the fellows focus on the art form. The Swan Fellows must spend 2 weeks in residence at the Library of Congress, consulting caricature and cartoon collections, and also donate to the Library of Congress 1 copy of any publication that arises from their research here. Several fellowships are awarded each year, and we have another fellow in the audience as well, Remus Jackson. And we are very fortunate to have Felicity Yin with us today. Ms. Yin is a PhD candidate in art history at the University of California, San Diego. She earned a BA from South China Normal University, her first MA from Wuhan University, and her second MA from Rutgers. Her presentation today, Trans-Pacific Encounters, Miguel Covarrubias, Zhang Guanyu, and their indigenous turn, is related to her forthcoming PhD dissertation, Cosmopolitanism, Intermediality, and Graphic Modernism, Zhang Guanyu and his contemporaries, in which she explores graphic art and dissemination of print media as an influence on artistic modernism. She also considers how the interest in folk traditions affected both Western and Eastern artists. Felicity Yin has been exploring the archive of Miguel Covarrubias not only in the Prints and Photographs Division, but in the Manuscript Division. I have very much enjoyed working with her. Please give her a warm welcome as she provides insights into her research.
Thank you, Sarah, for your kind introduction. I really appreciate your guidance and expertise during my residency. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Swan Foundation for supporting this fellowship, which allowed me to consult such remarkable materials. I'm also grateful to the staff at the Prints and Photographs Division for your assistance. A special note to the Kluge Center for the support and generosity. Thank you all for being here today. It's an honor to share my research, which is part of my dissertation project titled Cosmopolitanism, Intermediality, and Graphic Modernism, Zhang Guanyu and his contemporaries, centering on a Shanghai artist, Zhang Guanyu, who is the pivotal figure and a media entrepreneur in shaping modern visual culture in China during the first half of the 20th century. This Trans-Pacific map is one of the 6 mural maps created for the Golden Gate International Exposition in 1939 in San Francisco, envisioning a utopian unity of indigenous art along the Pacific Rim. Its creator, Mexican artist Miguel Covarrubias, has garnered renewed scholarly attention for his visual anthropology and ethnographic studies, particularly his research trip to Bali, as highlighted by a previous Swan Fellow's wonderful work. Today, I would like to shift the focus to his stay in China before his Balinese journey, exploring the encounter between Covarrubias and a group of Shanghai artists, especially the like-minded Zhang Guanyu. The two artists share striking similarities. Neither Covarrubias nor Zhang received formal artistic training, yet both entered cosmopolitan centers at a young age and quickly earned acclaim as accomplished caricaturists, while engaging in diverse projects, including book illustrations and stage design. Notably, both experienced pivotal career shifts in the mid-1930s, shortly after their meeting. This research examines the trans-Pacific encounter facilitated by the network of liberal cosmopolitans, highlighting the role of non-Western participants in shaping emerging transnational media culture. By exploring the mutual and seminal influences of this encounter, this study delves into how it inspired a turn towards indigenous artistic expressions in the mid-1930s, fostering profound cross-cultural resonance. The foreign concessions in treaty port cities in China provided citizens with convenient access to books and periodicals from abroad. Artist editors frequently visited the Shanghai-based publisher Kelly and Walsh to browse international magazines. The most frequently perused publications included Punch from Britain, along with Vanity Fair, New Yorker, and Vogue from the United States. These foreign magazines offered Chinese readers a glimpse into the broader world, sparking fascination with international artists, particularly Miguel Covarrubias. His work left such a profound impression that the Shanghai artists dreamed of meeting him if they ever traveled to New York. Miguel Covarrubias was deeply embedded with the cosmopolitan elite and artist circles of his time. Upon arriving in New York in 1923, writer and photographer Carl van Vechten introduced him to Frank Kronischild, editor of Vanity Fair. The magazine became a prominent platform for emerging writers, modern artists, and photographers. Kronischild, an influential figure in the arts and the theater scene, and also a founding trustee of the Museum of Modern Art, quickly recognized Covarrubias' talent. His vibrant caricatures captured the energy of the Roaring Twenties, establishing him a regular contributor to illustrated magazines. Carl van Vechten introduced Covarrubias to the lively nightclubs at the heart of Harlem Renaissance. Covarrubias was naturally drawn to this vibrant atmosphere. He meticulously observed and studied their live music and performance. As an outsider, both ethnically and nationally, he possessed a unique perspective that allowed him to keenly observe the minority communities in New York. The early 20th century also saw a surge in archaeological discoveries that fueled a craze for collecting Chinese jade and ancient artifacts. Both Covarrubias and van Vechten became enthusiastic collectors. Covarrubias developed a deep curiosity about Chinese culture and frequently visited the Far East Tea Garden, as depicted in the drawing from our collection. A Chinese restaurant where he was captivated not only by Chinese-inspired cuisine like chop suey, but also by Peking opera and acrobatic performances. When the celebrated Peking opera star Mei Lanfang, known for his role as female impersonator, toured the United States in 1930, Covarrubias was amazed by his performance. In 1930, the Covarrubias couple traveled to the island of Bali for their honeymoon. Enchanted by the island's dazzling culture, Covarrubias presented a series of gouache and oil paintings to the New York audience, signaling his new direction. During his 2-week visit to China, local artists were unable to connect with him. However, Covarrubias reunited with French writer Marc Chador and agreed to illustrate his book China, La Chine. Some of these illustrations later appeared in Shanghai magazines, further enhancing his popularity within the city's literary and artistic circles. The eventual connection was facilitated by a socialite, Bernardine, George, Fritz, After Covarrubias' visit, she became a salon hostess in Shanghai's cultural scene. A former journalist who had once attended Gertrude Stein's salon in Paris, she remarried Chester Fritz and moved to Shanghai in 1929. There she became acquainted with the Chinese elite such as Lin Yutang and Shao Xunmei. Together, these new alliances contributed to the burgeoning publishing salon culture in China. Lin Yutang, the one in the middle, a linguist, writer, philosopher, and translator, had pursued his doctoral studies at Harvard University and later the University of Leipzig. Upon returning to China, he became an ardent advocate for bilingual journals and the introduction of humor culture to Chinese audiences. He also coined the Chinese term "yumo." Recognizing Bernardine's journalist background, Lin invited her to serve as the sole foreign editor of his English language journal, China Critic. Shao Xunmei, the one on the left, is a poet, publisher, and translator. Born into an eminent family, he studied at Cambridge and briefly in Paris. Inspired by the European decadent and aesthetic movements, he sought to bring these cultural currents to China. After his poetry achieved limited success, Shao concentrated on cultivating a salon and publishing platform. He collaborated with local artists, notably Zhang Guangyu, to establish modern publications. At its peak, the company owned 7 magazines with modern miscellany, striving to emulate its American counterpart, Vanity Fair. Here's the logo of the company and also the magazine. Following his encounter with Bernardine, Shao became a frequent participant at her salon, where he dubbed her Madame de Salon, reflecting her role in hosting the sole gathering that welcomed the Chinese intellectuals in the foreign concessions. Lin and Shao assisted her to organize activities for the Chinese branch of the PEN International, which is a worldwide association of writers, and the International Arts Theater Group. Bernardine's salon became a vital nexus between Chinese and international cultural spheres. In 1933, Miguel Covarrubias received a Guggenheim Fellowship to conduct anthropological research in Bali. Upon his return to Asia, Bernardine introduced the couple to Chinese artists and writers. The Covarrubias couple arrived in Shanghai in late September, where the Fritz couple hosted a cocktail party and a welcome luncheon in their honor. Attendees included Lin Yutang, Shao Xunmei, and artists such as Ye Qianyu, Zhang Guangyu, and the Zhang Zhongyu brothers. At Shao's suggestion, the group traveled to Suzhou for a few days to meet local artists. Bernardine then accompanied Miguel and Rosa on a 10-day trip to Beijing before returning to Shanghai. Here are some drawings he created along the way. During their stay, Covarrubias largely avoided public events, preferring to spend time with Shao and the artists almost daily. Details of these encounters are preserved in Chinese sources, including 2 articles by Shao Xunmei published in his magazines Modern Miscellany and Decameron, as well as recollections by Zhang Guangyu's brother Cao Hanmei. The group was impressed by Covarrubias' sincerity. What was planned as a journalist-style interview by Shao quickly evolved into a profound exchange about global art transcending national boundaries. Covarrubias shared his perspective on Chinese art, expressing a particular admiration for Zhang Guangyu. He praised Zhang for his deep understanding of the strengths of Western art and his ability to convey the unique qualities of Eastern art. According to Cao Hanmei, Covarrubias brought 3 types of works to these gatherings: printed works from Vanity Fair, sketches he had drawn in China, and drawings from his travels, particularly those created in Bali in 1930. This visit exemplified a trans-Pacific moment of exchange transcending national borders and language barriers. The convergence of diverse participants, such as Jewish women seeking independence in a foreign land, liberal cosmopolitans serving as cultural ambassadors and translators, and artists navigating personal transformations in their search for national identity, highlighted the power of cross-cultural dialogue. A significant influence from Covarrubias on the group of Shanghai artists became evident shortly after his visit. Both Zhang Guangyu's contemporaries and modern scholars have identified traces of this influence, particularly in 2 types of images: black and white illustrations and colorful caricatures. The black and white style is prominently seen in the bold and clean-lined drawings reminiscent of Covarrubias' illustrations in China and Peace by Revolution, an interpretation of Mexico. Zhang's monochromatic caricatures, published in the early 1930s magazines such as the Decameron Cover, belong to this category. The second type, chromatic cartoons, reflects the vibrant style of Covarrubias' Impossible Interviews series from Vanity Fair. This influence is apparent in Zhang Guangyu's Rare Encounters series, published in Modern Miscellany. This particular one is an imagined meeting between Mussolini and Chiang Kai-shek, the head of China's nationalist government. The rounded figure in Zhang's works echo Covarrubias' geometric abstraction. Paul Bivens observed that the editors of Vanity Fair was aware of the similarities and cited this particular image in the Editor's Uneasy Chair column as an example. Decades later, Zhang Guangyu's close friend and colleague Zhang Ding was asked to describe Zhang's style. He characterized it as 内圆外方, square inside, circle outside. 圆中寓方, embedding squareness within roundness, or 方中寓圆, embedding roundness within squareness. Such a style is exemplified in his folk love song, serialized in Modern Sketch from 1934 to 1935. The series consisted of 48 black and white drawings accompanied by episodes of folk love songs collected from the rural areas of Wu region near Zhang's hometown. The minimalist depiction, distancing itself from the hyperbolic and sensational caricatures common in modern sketch, reflects a deep appreciation of the simplicity and the tranquility of rural life. The disproportionately large heads and the shrunken, abstracted body, described by Zhang Ding as embedding squareness within roundness, reveal a degree of self-exoticization influenced by Covarrubias' Bali sketches. For Chinese artists, copying served as both a learning process from previous masters and a creative transformation. Beyond Covarrubias' inspiration, Zhang Guangyu recounted in the 1959 essay his fascination with a traditional Chinese woodcut artist. So the artist from Ming Dynasty, his name is Chen Hongshou. Zhang recalled a well-known anecdote about Chen. It was said that Chen spent 10 days meticulously copying Li Hongmian's carving, 72 Sages, and then asked his friend whether his work resembled the original. When they affirmed, Chen was pleased and returned to copy the same work for another 10 days. This time, his friends found the copy unrecognizable as a replica of the original. Delighted, Chen described this method as replacing circles with squares and assembling fragments into a whole, 以圆一方，以整归散。This story illustrates how creative copying allowed artists to transcend mere imitation, achieving a distinctive, independent style. By referencing this anecdote, Zhang acknowledged his continuous assimilation and adaptation, transforming from resemblance to non-resemblance. The literal notion of adding squareness into roundness gradually evolved to replacing circles with squares, assembling fragments into a whole, and integration in a metaphorical sense. Well, Covarrubias' influences on Chinese cartoonists have been extensively discussed. Less attention has been given to the indigenous turn shared by them during the 1930s. After his trip to Bali, Covarrubias shifted his focus to anthropological and ethnographic studies. Returning to Mexico in 1935, he championed pre-Columbian art through curatorial work and theatrical design. Similarly, 1934 to 1935 marked a turning point for Zhang Guangyu as he developed his signature decorative style, incorporating native traditions and folk art. This shift underscores more than stylistic parallels. Both artists participated in a broader quest for national identity, as China and Mexico sought to rediscover indigenous traditions during periods of national transformation following a revolution. Their artistic journeys reveal a profound contemplation of cultural roots and an enduring legacy of innovation in response to historical and societal changes. Shao Xunmei's article recalled Covarrubias' observation about the striking similarities between ancient jade carvings from Mexico and China. These reflections contributed to his support for the diffusionist theory, an explanatory model in archaeology that explores the connections between global civilizations. The theory posits that artistic expressions and cultural traits were transmitted across regions through successive waves of migration from Asia to the Americas. This trans-Pacific fusion inspired Covarrubias to conduct extensive research and publish several works on pre-Columbian art in the following decades. Similar conversations likely arose when the Zhang brothers accompanied Covarrubias to the antique market near Shanghai's city god temples to purchase jade artifacts. Cao Han may note that Zhang Guangyu sent Covarrubias a compendium of epigraphic rubbings of bronze, recognizing his scholarly interest. This fueled Covarrubias' strong curiosity in the influences of the Bronze Age in China's Shang and Zhou dynasties on the art of Southeast Asia and on the Americas, as reflected in the chart he designed to illustrate the diffusionist model. Here are some examples of from his book, The Eagle, the Jaguar, and the Serpent in Indian Art of the Americas. This is the symmetric hawker pattern found in China, Oceania, and South America. He believed that would support this model. Although the diffusionist model was highly debated among archaeologists and has been questioned for overemphasizing morphological similarities, it reflects the underlying impulse for both artists to reconstruct their native origins and reclaim marginalized cultural histories. Shao further elaborated on his discussion with Covarrubias regarding Bali's cultural heritage, noting that while it had persisted under Dutch colonial rule, it was increasingly threatened by commercialization. The Covarrubias couple's visit to Bali aimed to document and preserve the heritage in visual and written form. Besides, both Shao and Cao identified Covarrubias' style as drawing inspiration from his collections of jade carvings and indigenous artifacts. This observation underscores their understanding of the intricate relationship between primitivism and modernism. While deeply appreciative of Euro-American magazines, they were not blindly following the trending modern art. Instead, they realized how modernism has been nurtured by folk and indigenous traditions. Building on these ideas, Zhang Guangyu, in collaboration with Ye Lingfeng, launched the independent magazine Wanxiang in 1934. From its inaugural issue, elements of Mexican art are clearly discernible. The cover, designed by Zhang Guangyu, features concentric sun and moon motifs, evocative of the cosmological imagery of Aztec art. One article introduced Diego Rivera, a close friend and a mentor of Covarrubias. It included a biography of Rivera and selective images from his mural projects. This interest in Mexican art didn't signify a neglect of their own heritage. Rather, it inspired Shanghai artists to reinterpret local traditions as an alternative expression of modernism. In the same issue of Wanxiang, Ye Qianyu introduced his design of cheongsam featuring blue and white floral patterns. These patterns, traditionally seen on headscarves worn by rural women in Wu region, had nearly vanished with the rise of machine-produced textiles. Ye hoped that incorporating folk motifs into modern fashion would lead a new cultural trend. Zhang Guangyu's cover design embodied the same ethos. The third issue adopted a folk paper cut as its cover, signaling a shift from imitation towards the rediscovery and revitalization of a overlooked cultural heritage. In addition to Covarrubias' genuine interest in indigenous cultures, what profoundly impressed the Chinese artists were his working method. Shao Xunmei noted that Covarrubias believed a cartoon were not created in a single stroke, but required multiple sketches to capture the subject's various movements and expressions, which were then synthesized into the final composition. As a caricaturist observing as an outsider, Covarrubias faced the challenge of balancing generality and specificity. His early New York caricatures employed a degree of abstraction and exaggeration. Some of these works didn't escape the racial stereotypes and exoticized the perspective prevalent at the time. However, his ethnographic studies sought to counteract such reductive tendencies by incorporating textile details. Notably, the act of drawing holds transformative potential, capable of deconstructing the hierarchies and dissolving the boundaries. Tim Ingold reminds us that drawing resists totalization, refusing closure, while Michael Taussig argues that drawing no longer defines the boundary, but, quote, becomes the channel to merge with the object, end quote. This communicative and indeterminate quality allowed Covarrubias to immerse himself in the environment of the cultural other. Ye Qianyu, in particular, was influenced by this approach. He argued that for Covarrubias, monochromatic sketches served as references for his colorful renderings later published in magazines and books. In contrast, Ye developed it into a standalone form of art, perceiving it as manhua caricatures and suxie speedy sketch simultaneously. Ye explained that while caricatures focus on capturing human expressions and gestures, Speedy Sketch register both the part and the whole. For Ye, sketching became a tool that mediated between perception and comprehension, reconciling the Western techniques of 写生, sketch from life, with the Chinese approach of 写意, capturing the spirit. The outbreak of the Sino-Japanese War unexpectedly offered these artists an opportunity to rediscover China's ethnic minorities. As the nationalist government relocated to wartime capital Chongqing in southwestern region, these Shanghai artists migrated to vast inland and southwestern areas. The area remained sparsely populated and predominantly inhabited by ethnic minorities. In a documentary, Wango Wong and Ouyang Huimin referred to this region as China's New Mexico, subject to a kind of, quote, bluntness to colonial attitudes inherent in cultural appropriation, end quote. Many of these artists joined cultural expeditions to this region. Ye Qianyu traveled to Miao County in Guizhou and the Tibetan prefecture in Sichuan during the 1940s, carrying a notebook for speedy sketches wherever he went. These sketches later served as the source for his new style ink figure paintings, as you can see here. Zhang Guangyu also visited Miao County and other minority communities in Guizhou and Guangxi provinces. Similarly, drawing became a medium for learning, observing, and experiencing unfamiliar cultures. His extensive notes documenting local architecture, carvings, and costumes reveals techniques that can be traced back to Covarrubias' sketches of Bali. These include the speedy sketches capturing the dancers' poses in motion, and detailed diagrams dissecting garments and ornaments, reminiscent of Covarrubias' depiction and notation of the lagoon dancer in his book Island of Bali. Ye Qianyu and Zhang Guangyu represent a group of Chinese cartoonists undergoing a transformation from abstracting generalized types to fully harnessing the cognitive and formative functions of drawing to gain a deeper understanding of China's underrepresented ethnic minorities. With the ongoing war, Covarrubias and Zhang Guangyu never had a chance to reunite. However, one final convergence between them revolved around the same subject, the water margin. Zhang Guangyu created multiple illustrations for the water margin from the 1930s to the 1940s. The story about rebel outlaws during the late Northern Song dynasty was later turned into a novel by Shi Nai'an during the Ming dynasty in the 16th century. Considered a literary classic during the Republican period, it inspired numerous illustrated editions. Zhang became captivated by this subject, precisely as he attempted to explore national artistic expressions. While Covarrubias' influence lingered, Zhang's interpretation paid a distinct homage to the water margin illustrations of Ming artist Chen Hongshou. Covarrubias was commissioned to illustrate the novel's English translation by Pearl S. Buck. Having spent much of her youth in China as the daughter of a missionary, Buck won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1938 for her depictions of Chinese peasants' life. Buck chose to translate Water Margin as she believed these Chinese classics authentically represented the voices of the people. She invited her friend Lin Yutang to write an introduction. Her chosen title, All Men Are Brothers, conveyed a deeply empathetic message of China during World War II. Covarrubias hoped to make the images appear as if they were created by a 16th century Chinese artist. In Mexico, he was diligently learning Chinese and sought information about China through every possible channel. His deep engagement was further demonstrated in his role as the chair of the Sino-Mexican Friendship Society in 1953. I've been searching the news clippings at the Prints and Photographs collection, which shows his deep concern about China's resistance during World War II and the looming Civil War, which aligns with the rebellious theme of the water margin. Covarrubias' efforts to imitate Chinese calligraphy were praised by a curator from Columbia University for their accuracy, as you can see from the writings. Like Zhang Guangyu, he drew heavily on pre-modern Chinese art for inspiration. His compositions featured a moving perspective and texture strokes borrowed from Chinese landscape paintings, while the coloring mimicked the effects of multi-block woodcut prints. Precisely because of the in-betweenness of his identity, Covarrubias was able to break free from the creative patterns, immerse himself in diverse cultural contexts, and engage in border crossing and position switching activities. In closing, both Covarrubias and Zhang Guangyu emerged from similar backgrounds, with their respective countries undergoing re-evaluation of marginalized native traditions and the search for new cultural identities. Their outsider perspective, combined with the communicative power of drawing, allowed them to transcend stereotypes and hierarchical structures. Through sensory engagement of drawings, they achieved not only a deeper understanding of the cultural other, but also fresh insights into their own identities. Thanks for joining today. It has been a pleasure to research the collections in the Library of Congress. Thank you.